तो हुआ था आगे ठीक है थैंक यू सो let's see, can I look at the OCT morphology and predict the prognosis of neovascular AMD? Yes, we can. Post hoc analysis of VIEW trial, which actually was a trial between ranibizumab and aflibercept 4 weekly and 8 weekly, gave us a very interesting outcome. So what it showed was that though the resolution was very good in all the three groups, the intraretinal fluid in the beginning, the baseline BCVA and the final BCVA was worse as compared to subretinal fluid and PEDs. So, if we have intraretinal fluid, there is a lower baseline visual acuity and a poorer outcome. So, that can also give us a good idea to when discussing with the patient. Also, 4 weekly ILIA does give better anatomical outcomes, but overall the visual acuity is quite similar. What happens to the PED after anti-VEGF therapy? So post-hoc analysis of HARBOR, which was the randomized groups of 0.5 and 2 milligram, also gave us a very good insight about what happens to PED over 2 years. So over the period of 2 years, a lot of PED settled down. And also it's driven with the dose. So 2 mg ranibizumab had a better settling of PED around 70% as compared to around 50% in 0.5. But the final vision or the vision gain is not linked with the PED. So it does not matter. What should I do when there is activity even at 3 loading doses? So after 3 loading doses, if there is still early persistent retinal fluid, what should we do? So very interesting study, which was basically the post hoc analysis of VIEW 1 and VIEW 2, studied the different things that, so if there was no persistent fluid, the groups did similar. But if there was persistent fluid, either IRF or SRF, the 4 weekly ILIA did much better than the other two, 8 weekly ILIA and the 4 weekly ranibizumab. And if there is persistent intraretinal fluid, the 4 weekly ILIA did very well. And if there is persistent subretinal fluid, even the 4 weekly ranibizumab did better than the 8 weekly ILIA. So you should treat, and it's better to treat with the 4 weekly ILIA if there is early persistent fluid. How will these patients do after 5 years from treatment? So after 5 years of treatment, what exactly this study showed us was that though the visual gains, irrespective of the treatment protocol, irrespective of the drug that you use, either ranibizumab or bevacizumab in the study, they showed that the visual acuity gain did come down, which was not the same as it was in the first year than in the 5th year. But what it also showed was that there was still 50% of the eyes that had better vision than 20/40. So long-term treatment with anti-VEGF has a role. How will these patients do if I keep them only on monotherapy for a year? So this study, basically a retrospective analysis through IRIS registry of more than 14,000 patients, where they had all the three, bevacizumab, ranibizumab, and aflibercept, all monotherapy patient treated according to different regimens over a period of a year. What they found, the visual acuity change was similar. Can these patients tolerate subretinal fluid? Can we actually leave SRF and be happy? The fluid study was a very good study. So it showed us what happens over 2 years if we actually can leave some amount of fluid there. So there were 2 arms. One arm was an intensive arm in which any amount of SRF had to be treated with ranibizumab, and the other was a relaxed arm in which you have to treat the IRF, but the SRF, if it is less than 200 microns at the fovea, can be left. So what this told us was initially the intensive arm did better, but over a period of 2 years, it was very similar. So if there is SRF and less than 200 microns at the fovea, you can actually think of just observing. Will switching to ILIA help? We actually discussed that. Dr. Somil told us. So this very good systematic analysis did also tell us the same thing. There is a structural as well as in some cases functional improvement if you switch to ILIA. Non-responders, persistent fluid, and other cases. Do we need to buy OCTA in the future? Well, not just future. A lot of people have it. I don't. So OCTA gives us very good insight. the best example is subclinical macular neovascularization. So this study studied prospectively fellow eyes of neovascular AMD, which had intermediate AMD or geographic atrophy. And what they found was around 14% of these patients had subclinical sitting time bomb, which was still not leaking. That is the subclinical MNV. And what they observed was that these patients followed closely over a period of time, leaked 15 times, had a chance of leaking 15 times more than not having these findings. So
30
it's very
30 seconds
important to have these kind of things. So what's new? Port delivery system. So this is the port delivery system which was used in ladder study, which had a outer external flange, a body, and a release control element. And they actually they put it in the pars plana area, and they did a prospective blind study to assess the safety and efficacy of this delivery system. And what they saw was the 100 milligram per ml group, when you put that in, the number of injections come down, obviously putting it through that port delivery, but they also had complications of vitreous hemorrhage. So that has to be looked into.
Bev, can you conclude your
Yes.
slide? Because
The last slide is
from the next session, I already did.
brolucizumab is going to come to India. It's already there, FDA approved. The smallest chain anti-VEGF, which basically counteracts VEGF-A. And what it has shown is, especially in the Harrier study, the 6 mg brolucizumab is non-inferior to aflibercept, and it also has better drying and lesser activity over a period of 48 weeks. And the most important advantage is it has to be given 12 weekly. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for hurrying you through, because the persons from next sessions are already there. We have 3 talks left.